So yeah.
Sorry, guys, I forgot to record. So yeah, that's a tough one, and it's a tough one for us because we want to be cognizant that not everybody has joined, but we do have this big issue of people assuming, especially when you have an agency with a rep with maybe 10 or 15 people that get added on, they just don't realize or think that they are separate. They are, some just assume it's one big membership together, and it's not. I think we need to do some work on that. I will tell you, we're looking at some dual membership options. There's a lot to think about with that when you have 70 chapters with all different pricing. NIGP is not on a calendar year when it comes to membership. You all are. We're on anniversary date, so there's that. But it's certainly something our member council has broach the subject on, because it has become, does it make sense that when you join one, you join the other, that there's then a share of funds and it's passed down instead of this one or the other kind of thing, or knowing who or where you belong to.
Hey, Jen, I wanted to share with Maya, especially. A little birdie told me that our numbers for Tennessee for the last national election were 10%. And so Lori Bryant and I kind of ignored everything and said, we're marketing to our chapters. And we did personally, since we're both webmasters in our 2 chapters in Tennessee. And so we did social media, we did things, email blasts to our members, and we were kind of persistent about that. And so I think that's an increase over what we've had in the past.
Yeah.
But we were kind of pleased with that. So.
Yeah, that actually, as you're talking, we're trying to figure out something like a since it's Washington State NIGP Weekly, like just trying to take our communications and try and do like quick little bullet points just to give people like that summary of maybe you saw this. And I guess I hadn't thought about some of the national stuff, but maybe we should be adding that national stuff in there too, because just that way they have everything in a summary. Remember to register for the Mariners game. Remember to, we've got this event coming up, get your registration in. Idaho chapter's got a class that they're trying to get in person, if you're interested. And so just little shorts, really short, and then links back to where they can find the information is what we're talking about. That might be a good way, Penny. I think that's good.
It's a one-stop shopping. So that way you're condensing everything. If you're getting emails from the chapter, from us, from another chapter, another association, if you kind of put that all into a quarterly, monthly newsletter, or here's everything. We're finding a lot of chapters are pulling stuff from the emails that Kathy pulls out from marketing, and just taking a link and one line and just, hey, this is what's happening at the Institute. Did you know about this? And that way it's not, again, if you have time when that email pops up, we read it. And if not, I have to hear it 2 or 3 more times before it pops into my head to do something. So I think that's a good idea. Alyssa?
I was just going to add on just like getting people to vote for the national positions. Robin and I were just discussing like the year that the candidates all did a short video. I don't know if you guys have seen statistics, like if you got better results that year. Like to me, it was so much easier for me to like know the candidates and feel better about who I'm voting for than like reading a little paragraph about them. That was really awesome. And I was just thinking maybe we should try that for our elections, but just a little bit of feedback. I know Robin's like, that was the one year I remember I voted, because if our members don't even know these people, they're probably like, I know we've already said this, but like, why should I vote? Why do I care? Maybe that is one way to,
I think it's good. I wish I had stats, Alyssa. I don't know them off the top of my head, and I'm sure our membership department does have. I will tell you that we've been kind of flat for years. So, I mean, there may be a little bump or a little dip. I don't know that we found one thing that has just made the huge difference, but I think locally videos make, especially when you're talking about why you're a local chapter, it's because of that personal connection. It's very different than voting for somebody that's in a different state and it's part of a bigger association. This is about your small group. And I think videos could be very impactful to learn about who's leading us, who's standing in front of me every time I'm in a meeting. Any other ideas on that? Okay, I'm going to go through some more questions here. let's talk real quickly about how to get more members to attend social events. I think that's a good question. We talk a lot about, people wanting to come to events because they need contact hours. An agency is going to pay for it. There has to be an education bit, but there is something about being social and getting to know each other and having that community. Again, that purpose of that local chapter. I have seen chapters, and Tracy, I don't know if you guys do this, where it's their social event is extended to family, and that can make a difference, that it's not just your members. With a family, then it's on a weekend. So, partners, spouses, kids, other people can attend as well. Has anybody else tried anything else for social events? I don't know if it costly is the social event. I think this is, again, I've talked about this over the years, and that's knowing your membership, and whether it's through surveys or through your renewal notices, is getting to know your members. If you find, your members are golfers or your members are baseball fans, then maybe those are the social events you plan. And if you don't know those other things other than work or titles or the agency they work for, it's hard to plan a social event and think everybody will show up because everybody wants to go to a baseball game or everybody wants to go to a Dave and Buster's type place. So Tracy, is there anything specific about the social event or specifics that you're struggling with? Is it pricing or finding a location?
I mean, most of it is just like we've sent out surveys asking people. We came up with some ideas. We did ask are you interested in doing a family event where you can bring your family? Are you interested in doing something that's just membership? But there have been social events in the past where, like last year, we did a movie at Christmas and we rented out a theater, and we opened it up to family members, luckily, because only 10 or 12 of our actual members showed up, and we have just under 100 members in our whole chapter. And getting them to show up for something that's after hours is not always easy, that sort of thing. So this year we had sent out a survey and asked them, and unfortunately we tried to do 2 events, one like holiday event and then one sometime during the summer. And a lot of people picked bowling, but it did end up being out of our budget to have everybody come do that. And then, so we've chosen to do a family event at a museum that has a theater that we could show a movie. And we've decided this year for our holiday event, because we've rented out restaurants and that sort of thing, we end up spending the money to have so few people show up. We've paid for probably around 50 to 60 people to show up and we have 10, then it's a lot of money to spend for people to not come. So this year we decided for a holiday event that we would kind of have like what we do for our meetings, just have people show up around the lunch hour during a weekday, and we would do a catered lunch for everyone. And then we plan to send out a survey about what kind of food they want, and then if they want to do a white elephant or a Secret Santa gift exchange, so that we can just spend some time getting to know each other, because we do want to try to do events where the membership is interacting. We have an event here during the holidays at the zoo, they call Zoo Lights, where they've done different light things at our zoo, and people show up but they don't interact because they're just going around with their families. But we get some people to fill out the surveys to give us an idea of what they're interested in. And then sometimes we get people to sign up because we send it out saying, will you come to these events? And they sign up, but then they don't show up. So
here's a couple things, Tracy. And again, I want anybody, please raise your hand or type into the chat any ideas or thoughts that Tracy can take. I think after COVID, our landscape certainly changed in the fact of people picking what's important and choosing where they're spending their time. So we may find what used to be big for our chapters and social events may not be that case anymore. And I think what you're doing is smart, is kind of feeling that out, is that, okay, we used to spend money and expect this, and that's not what's coming, then to change it. That doesn't work for our group. That's not how they respond. I'd hate to think that sometimes social events need to go away. Maybe they're not important in the chapter world anymore, but I think it's feeling those out and to see, really what is your membership responding to? Because you'd hate to put out all that money and then nobody shows up. And that's very disheartening to happen too. So I think continuing to survey and feel them out. But I think there is a changing landscape of where people, I think you're going to find it in your volunteers in your chapters, and even just coming to a meeting, is that people are picking and choosing what they're participating and spending their time in very differently than they did 2 years ago. Does anybody have great success with social events? Tracy, maybe they're going away if we don't.
I mean, I could bring up our wine tour, but I know I've talked about this in other meetings before, but it was really successful. We just haven't done it in a little while. But we did a Snake River Valley wine tour, and then we did a brewery tour, I think like the year after, and they were both really successful. Like we filled the bus. I think we met our capacity. But we offered it as like a special event. Just we paid for members and they could bring a guest for like $30. I can't remember. And we did a full-on, winery tour or brewery tour through different areas in Boise. And we did like on a Saturday, and those were awesome.
And I thought that's where it might conflict, because we have done happy hours, but we don't pay for that. We pay for some appetizers and stuff, but we tried to stay away from the alcohol. We said you can have alcohol, but you have to pay for it yourself. So I think we kind of take it like our own organization, where we are not supposed to partake in alcohol or anything like that. So maybe that's something. But we've done lots of stuff where we pay for everything. We pay for food, everything, and still people don't come. So that's the strange thing about it.
Tracy, Teresa just had a suggestion about charity events. NIGP, even when we've done, and that's why we've started and continue to do that at Forum, we've tied some of that social or fun activity to a local charity, and people are willing. I don't think anybody from Central Florida is on here, but I think they're really good at that as well, is that their membership wants to be engaged. It's social, but it's giving back to the community. It's not just a baseball game, a wine tour, or something like that. So that's something to think about. Penny also said that it can be hard to do things around the holidays. And I think if you continue to find that people are not choosing to do something during that December month, then that's just you may need to figure out something outside of that, or even the summer months when you think about people are going on vacations, you have less people to tap into, that you'd have to pick that spring and fall in between phase to possibly get participation. I think the best thing is to just keep trying something different. Don't keep doing the same thing. Don't keep wasting the money, but try some alternative things and then see what your membership kind of grasps at.
Well, and that's why we thought, if for our holiday event, if we try something during the week on a lunch hour instead of taking up anybody's weekend, since they're always so full, they don't have to participate in like the gift exchanges, but we hope to have like maybe some cute awards or some games and stuff that people can play. And then we're planning to cater the event, so it's free food to come during your lunch hour during sometime in December. But I guess we'll have to take a look and see how that works out, and maybe get away from a holiday party if that's the case.
Anybody else have any ideas on social events? Again, I think the key is listening to your membership and how they're responding to that, and to know what they're willing to give of time and when, and just play with that for a little bit. Tracy, I don't think that there's a one and all be answer for it, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you though.
Welcome. All right, let's talk a little bit about member engagement. We had some questions about this. I will tell you, as a lead into this, we had 35 chapters complete the chapter dashboards that were part of Chapter Academy. And the number one area that chapters are struggling with is in chapter member engagement. So I am working already with Peggy for next year's Academy, that while we're still going to talk about the 4 pillars that are important to chapters, we are really going to spend our time in person on this subject and doing actual tactical things, working in roundtables, coming up with plans. So we know that it's very relevant to the chapters, and I think it's going to be ongoing, is getting that engagement and participation. So this first question here talks about engagement at a spring conference. So I just want to, again, open it up to see what people are doing. Are they offering scholarships? You know, what the length is. You know, there's a lot of factors of why someone participates in something and doesn't. Is it cost? Is it location? Is it how much time are they out of the office? Is there a hybrid component to it where I can attend but don't have to get out of the office? So it's really hard to say unless you get that final survey result of why. And let me flip that a second. We talked about doing surveys of everybody that was an event and did they like it, and was the subject matter good and all those things. Has anybody surveyed the percentage of their members that didn't come to that event? Why did they not come? Was it money? Was it the time of the year? Because that's really, in the end, you've got somebody there. I'm sure you guys have a core group in most chapters that attend and participate in everything. It's that other 80% that you really need to be talking to of why they're not registering. What is it that is not piquing their interest? Is the content not what they want? There could be so many factors of why people are not coming to any of your events. This is not just the spring conference, but your quarterly meetings, a webinar. What is it is it the time of the day that you have them? I think these are all questions you constantly need to be asking yourself and constantly changing it up. Easy things. Let's say you are a chapter that does monthly webinars and you do them all at lunch. You schedule them at lunch, and you've done 3 or 4 of them and you're getting 10 people. Change one up and do it first thing in the morning. Do one at the last part of the day. Does your membership increase? Does it go down? I think people get stuck in that. If we're going to plan things out, we're going to have our meetings all at the same time. I think it's good to plan out and know and let people know when things are going to be. But if you're having trouble with engagement and participation, you need to play around with where, when, the subject matters, because I think those are all reasons why people are not coming. Is that time? Is that, I had somebody one time even tell me for in person, they didn't realize people were not coming to an event because parking was a nightmare. It was something that little. It wasn't that they didn't want to be there, but either they had to pay, it was too hard to get parking. And then after they did it once, they decided we're not going to do that again. But it had already been decided that that was the location for all the quarterly meetings. Well, that's something you have to be aware of. So talk to me about what some people are doing. Have they changed things around? Do they have good participation in things? Scholarships, offsetting price, things like that all work to get engagement. So does anybody want to share? Trudy?
So our MGPA, and I put this in the comment as well, our summer conference, we had very, very strong content and it was in a central location. And so we feel that that was a majority of the reason why we had the best turnout we've ever had at a summer conference. So we were very pleased with that. And then we have also started doing lunch and learns. We have one coming up on July 19th, I believe, and we have like 68 attendees already signed up. So we have never seen that many as signed up. And again, it's because of the content, because this is on contract administration. So we have seen that if we have strong content for our members, that they will attend.
Yep. Also be willing to do, I know it's uncomfortable. I think about these Huddle things because they made me uncomfortable when I wanted to do this because I didn't know what we talk about, but maybe plan every quarterly hot topics and don't have an agenda planned. Have it open and have people come and mark it as that what is on your mind that you want to talk about right now? What is it that you want to know about? Let your members decide what this subject matter is going to be and not predetermined, because what I need today could be completely different than what I need next month at the next event. So have some space or allow some space where you just need a facilitator, someone like me that just kind of allows people to talk about things, but what is that burning subject matter, and then have people share. I think that can be just as fruitful as lining up all the subjects, is just allowing that space for that to come in. Trudy?
And Jennifer, I'll just add on to that because we are offering we're calling a construction huddle. And basically that's exactly what we're doing. Quite people had questions on, the bonding and what that looks like and design build versus different methodologies. And so we just said, we open it up. It's kind of a luncheon connect is what we're calling it. And it allows people to just ask their question, talk to questions, meet people and what that looks like. And I think we've got like 25 people registered for that one. It's next week. So we're going to see how that one goes as well.
I love that. And to Alyssa's point, you talk about it's hard to find speakers, especially on subject matters. Having something like that allows you to not necessarily have an expert, but everybody may know a little bit about something or share what they do at their agency that can help. Something else to think about, if you have had a successful conference or a subject matter where you had a big attendance, I guarantee you that one and done is probably not enough. So I think about, this happens at NIGP. We go to Forum and we have all these workshops. Whatever the most attendance is, we pay very close attention to. We follow up with other webinars because we have this notion that you probably did not hear, learn, ask all your questions in that 190-minute session. And if it's packed and that's what everybody wants to come to, offer it multiple times, offer it different ways. Trudy talked about, we know the subject matter, there could probably lots of bullet points underneath that, but don't pigeonhole it, just offer the subject matter and let people bring what is that burning question about that subject matter. I really think it comes down to time and content. What is it they want to hear and when is it happening? What are some other things people are doing?
Can I just tag on to what you just said? Sorry,
Sure.
couldn't find my unmute button quick enough. But to Alyssa's point, if you have something, a speaker or something that was well attended, I want to hear about it from Washington. So maybe I can tag team and see if that person can present or that topic at our as well. And I'm as a chapter, we're willing to do partnering with folks too, especially for some of those virtual events and try to do those together, because sometimes it is a little just constant work to try and find people to come and talk. So if we can share our speakers, it'd be fantastic.
I agree. Something else, and Trudy asked, Cynthia asked about this is, can we find out what's this hot topic sessions were at Forum? And definitely that's something that I put down there. Even if it's 3 or 4 of them, just if you know those subject matters that everybody wants to go to. I also encourage you, don't be afraid to approach a speaker somewhere, either at your event, another event at Forum, and say, would you be willing to speak at our chapter? You don't know till you ask. These, while our speakers at Forum, some are paid for, most of them are not, some of them are our instructors. You'd be surprised how many of them would probably be willing to pop in and do a virtual, hey, can you take this session to my chapter? They may charge you in the end, I don't know, but it can't hurt to ask. You've got the subject matter expert right there. You've got a session that you felt moved by, felt was great content. Ask. The worst thing that they can say is no, and the best thing is they can say is yes, and you may have planned out a session that you needed filled.
Yeah, we've done that and it has been highly successful. So we're so grateful to the experts across the nation who've done that.
And I think the virtual world has opened, that's one of those positive things, is as much as we are frustrated with this box here that we all see each other in, it does allow for speakers that you would never normally have or be able to have access to, even if you're paying for them, that you wouldn't have had access to before because they're willing to jump on, or you can afford them now because they're going to do virtual. You're not paying to travel to them for your event. I still think it's also important for chapters, again, knowing who your members are and what they want, is for events, do they need to be one or the other? Do they need to be virtual or do they need to be in person? Hybrid events are not necessarily easy to create. We even suggest alternating, and not the same subject, but if you do something every other month change it, make it in person, and then the next one make it virtual. That way you're still connecting with that audience that may have decided I only want to stay in the virtual world, or those that are itching to get out in person. That way you're making sure that you're connecting. I remember something Peggy said to at Academy. It's not necessarily that you have 100 people in attendance, but if you are getting 50 people because they want to be there, that's what's important. I think we worry about that, oh, our numbers are not big, or we only had 30 people show up. Those 30 people were committed and wanted to be there in person or virtual for a reason. So you don't want to blow that off. But I think really looking at how you need to deliver things, what mechanism that your members are resonating with. When do your numbers spike? Do they spike in virtual? Then guess what? You may want to do in person till the cows come home, but your members are coming when it's virtually. You've got to respond to that. Other ideas, thoughts about getting your members to attend events? We've talked a little bit about sponsorships, scholarships, offsetting pricing. I know Penny talked about this to do polls. There always can be a giveaway, a raffle that sometimes can encourage people. Melissa talked about food. Food is always a big driver. A meal, if you're doing it around that, is to have a meal function. Teresa just says she has a calendar of topics. Oh, you have a calendar of topics, but not how to share with this group. Teresa, if you send them to me, what I'm doing is after each one of the huddles, I'm following up in our chapter leader insight community, and I'll share it there. So not just this group, but everybody can see what subjects you guys have looked on for the last year. So share that with me. Perfect. Any other question? I know this is, I feel like this is one that you could talk for days about, of member participation, but anything else people have tried? Maybe even tried that didn't work, thought it would? Okay, so this is kind of goes hand in hand, and this is about engagement. So we can look at engagement different ways. We just talked about what I consider butts and seats. They show up because they're coming to an event. You want them to pay, you want them to participate, to sit. Engagement can mean a lot of different things. It certainly can mean coming to things, but I think of engagement as a lot more than just showing up for an educational session, but it's actually volunteering. It's participating. I know I say it ad nauseum. It's still knowing what your members are good at and what they like. And somebody even said it's about the ask. So I think to get people engaged in your chapter is that you have to have small projects, small time frames, and you've got to ask the right people to volunteer. If you are doing a golf tournament for the first time, you are not going to just have your events team, who usually does your reverse trade shows, try to put on a golf course when none of them could give two hoots about golf or even understand golf. You need to know your membership and know that, hey, Bill is a golfer, I'm going to tap Bill. And that may seem kind of basics, but it's amazing that when you don't think about it, you just need an activity to happen and you just want somebody to do it. And half the battle is getting the right person to do it. And then I guarantee you they're willing to do it again if it's something they enjoy. It could be photography. It could be the greeter at your doors that hands out programs or tell people where to sit. Think about coming to forum in QCT. People love to volunteer just for QCT. It's a short snippet. They only can do it once. They can do it 10 times, but they like to engage with people, kind of tell them where to go. That's to us is engagement. That's engaging our membership. It doesn't have to be sitting on the board for 2 years. There's lots of ways. Writing for your newsletter. Ask somebody who attended forum to do a recap of forum in your newsletter for those that may have missed it. What were the highlights? What are some of their takeaways? Is there any incentives or people doing or finding that they have good engagement with their chapters to share? Now, again, you may think that it's only 2 people that are doing it, but that could be a new thing for somebody else. Catherine, I saw you take yourself off mute. Do you have something?
Well, I don't have anything I've tried yet. It's just something I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about going more old school and to get engagement from our members and get more connected to them, I have thought about having a liaison for each entity. So I'm a state chapter, and if I have a liaison for each entity, I can call those people personally, remind them to remind their group. If we're doing surveys or if we're having a conference, I can ask them in their group if there's anybody that has any talents and who could I call on. Just try to connect to them more than just email, because I'm finding email, like so many of us, we get inundated with emails every day. And now our email system used to be a safe system to use, but it's not as safe anymore. So our IT departments are really scanning things and telling us to be careful of incoming emails and whatnot. So I was thinking about that. I don't know if anybody has done that, but I think that may be my approach. We don't have a local chapter here where we are. There is a local chapter in Middle Tennessee and East Tennessee, but we do have a state chapter. And of course, that's what I'm a part of. But that was going to be my approach. I just stepped into I'm the treasurer and VP of TAP. And I thought maybe that is just a better way to get connected with our group and get new members involved, introducing myself, letting them know again what the organization is all about, and getting more personal with them than just the email. Has anybody done that or tried something like that?
Catherine, I think you're not alone in that mindset, in that thinking. Unfortunately, it's easier to email a group. It's easier to email and ask, we need help, or we want participation, or whatever the question might be. It is more work to call, to connect. But I have seen it happen that the time and effort is worth it to either pick liaisons, have a person you focus on, and then have them tell you somebody that you then call. Kentucky is a prime example. I don't think anybody from Kentucky is on the call. They do that. I don't know if they do it with conference and getting attendees or renewals or what aspect of their chapter, but they divide their membership amongst their board and they do a phone tree. They call, even if they have to leave messages, is that they personalize this outside of just mass emails. Think about it when you're looking for people to run. You need somebody to be the chair of a membership committee, whatever it might be. I don't know how successful long-term that type of scenario is. I don't know that I'd ever respond to an email and say, yeah, I'd love to be your membership chair. But you as a board member, as a president, as a leader, came to me either in a call at an event and said, Jen, I think this is something you'd be good at. We need somebody. Here is our position description. Here's the time it takes. Would you be willing? Now I'll actually think about it. I don't know that I'd even consider it in a group email to 100 members. But it takes time. It's Catherine, to your point, it takes time to set up. You got to create a liaison, keep track of them. There is work involved in that. But I'm anxious to hear if you go through with that, if in the end, is that worth all the time?
Okay, I definitely will keep you up to date, but that would be my plan to try to get more engagement. Now, these organizations that have been together for a long time, people just kind of fall off over time answering their emails. And I want to let them know they're important. They're why the organization exists. And we're here to serve them and what it is that they want to get out of belonging to the chapter, the contents in our conferences when we have them. It really is, they are the drivers of what we do. So they're critical to the success of our chapter and
Absolutely.
how successful our events and everything will be.
Absolutely. Any other thoughts or ideas on this, guys? I know please make sure you read the chat. There's been lots of things added into the chat as we go along here that I'm not going to be able to read all of them. But just make sure you check that. Any other ideas on engagement? Again, remember, people are picking and choosing where to spend their time. So it's got to be a value to them. It's got to be important to them. and I think Cynthia, you nailed it. It's the why. Why are we doing this? Why do you need this? What is the purpose? Things like that. I know we're getting here at the top of the hour, and I think there are two other subject matters we haven't broached on, and one is about increasing and getting new members. We can talk about this here real briefly. I know one of the things I always tell chapters is make sure you ask for a list of NIGP members. You will be surprised how many people belong to the Institute and not your chapter. And I have always said that is low-hanging fruit. They're willing to pay our dues. Why wouldn't they pay your dues? So always ask for that. Remember that we don't work on a calendar year. So our anniversaries happen continuously. So you decide, put a ping in your calendar as from your chapter every quarter, email Jen, we want a list of people. Those are great people to tap into for new members. I've also heard some chapters talking about going back to historical members, not necessarily the individual, because a lot of people are retiring, but what if an agency left 3 or 4 years ago? Go back to those groups and finding out why are they no longer members? Have things changed that they want to, and you want to bring them back into the fold and show them the new things that you're doing. So look at who has been historic and possibly tap into them. I think a lot of chapters need to make sure, especially if you're statewide, is have you tapped in? I know you may think that they're too far away or, it's not drivable distance to an event, but have you tapped into all of those agencies all over your state, all over your geographic area? Have you tried to reach out to them? Tampa has done a couple things in which their president, and they've done in conjunction with their ambassador, but you can do it just with your chapter, in which they've made presentations to agencies about why you and your procurement group want to belong to our chapter. And they said it's been very beneficial. I think, again, it's that personalization. It's not just here's a renewal to every procurement person in this area, but it's, you used to be a member or you've never been a member. Do you know about us? This is who we are. This is what we offer. Can be beneficial to bring in new members. Has anybody tried anything different, unique? There is not, and correct me, and I could be ignorant in saying this, there's not like a database within the state to find out who is in procurement outside of state employees. So there's no place to go to and just will populate this great list for you. No. Cynthia's saying no. No success in membership outreach growth ideas. Again, maybe like Catherine, something you're thinking about doing. Alyssa, were you?
I was gonna say I could share one thing we've tried during procurement month, which I guess we don't know if it's helped a ton with recruitment, but maybe, but we try to do donut deliveries to different agencies. We create a sign-up sheet and we usually choose like about, 6 different agencies throughout the month. And then we take volunteers from our board and a couple of us will go and visit them, share about IPPA. We choose a variety of maybe like agencies that aren't even a part of IPPA or some that are like a whole bunch of them are members of IPPA. We try to do a variety to kind of do different outreach to people. So that's been a good practice. I think we've done it a few years now.
And even with agencies,
I'm sorry, go on, Robin.
oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, even with agencies that are farther away from kind of our central area, we've done like a DoorDash delivery and sent a card and, stuff like that.
And procurement month is always a great month. For one, it makes them aware of it, those that maybe don't celebrate or know about that, but it's a great time to maybe tap into those that you haven't tapped into before, is that month. Any other ideas for growing membership? Again, ask me for a list. I can run it by state. If you are a chapter that has multiple chapters within the state, you just can then sort it by city, who geographically are your membership. But you will be surprised the number of people that are on there that you didn't know about before. So the last question I had here was social media. Alyssa, is there something specific that you've tried, haven't tried? Social media, I think, is a tough one. I think it's, what is the age of your membership? Where are they on social media wise? What are they using? It's funny, I see a lot of stuff posted, but I don't respond to it, but that doesn't mean it didn't resonate or I didn't connect with it. So I think it's hard sometimes. I'm thinking about a Facebook post particularly where, oh, that's what somebody's doing. It doesn't warrant responding, but did it have an effect? And that's where it's hard to kind of measure that. Are your members looking at it and getting their information from there, or is it all for naught? So I think that's tough in social media, but I think first you certainly need to know where your members are on social media. I know a lot of people are going to LinkedIn. LinkedIn is usually that professional side of things, and your chapter is a professional group. So if you're holding events, why are you not posting or using LinkedIn as a possibility as well? I do know, and I'm trying to work with a couple chapters to put an updated social media webinar together, because there are great things about several of the platforms. You can post on one and it posts on all of them, which can save you time. I do encourage people, if they really want to use social media, is to have somebody that's what they're in charge of. Don't just have your communication or marketing person when they are not on social media and are not into that. That's a great way to tap into maybe your young professionals or those who are active in that and like to do that. That's the type of person. Don't just assume communication chair means communications for everything. This is a great way to get kind of micro volunteering where they have a small responsibility, but your membership, your communication chair may have no interest in social media. So that shouldn't necessarily be their requirement. Alyssa, I know you guys have tried a lot of things. Have you found they work, they don't work?
Yeah, I asked that question because I'm the communications chair.
Okay.
And I do everything. So I probably need to start breaking it up. But I don't know, some works. LinkedIn is definitely a big one, but it's just, always the same people engaging, and we mostly post for class advertisement, events, and that's it. So I don't know if it's helpful to do something more fun here and there to engage people, and I don't know what that would be.
Well, I think the interesting word is you have to think about it is this engagement. When you post that you're doing something, you're not eliciting a response to it. So you don't know that engagement hasn't worked. You really then need to look at your numbers. So think about this. When you do your surveys afterwards, ask people where they heard about it or what made them decide to go. Maybe then you can get some information about if half my people are saying LinkedIn, then LinkedIn is what's working. But I think that's what's hard to tell, is that I'm probably not alone in which I am all over Facebook, but I don't necessarily comment or respond. But I watch chapter, I follow all the chapters. I don't respond to it, but I know something's happening. That has gone in my memory. I may actually even respond and do something else with it. Oh, I want to follow up with this chapter because I like that idea. I want them to share it, but I didn't comment on it. So it's hard then to say, okay, I posted in LinkedIn and only one person said something, but that doesn't mean two people may have registered. So maybe using your surveys and questions is why or where did they see the marketing that made them decide, or where, I can't think of the right wording to use, but I think we find this sometimes when you order online or they want to know if you saw it in a cat, or referrals. Did you hear it from a friend? Did you see it online? Where did they find out about this and why did they register and come? And that might be a good question to include in those after surveys.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Teresa just said that it makes perfect sense that LinkedIn would be more responsive for job postings. I'm probably sure that's much better than any type of Facebook, anything like that. That makes perfect sense. Any other social media ideas? I think it's a tricky one. I think so many people are watching but not engaging. Guys, we are at the top of the hour. I love all the content that we had here. I hope that you walked away with some ideas, some thoughts, even if it just sparked one or two little light bulbs up there, or thought about maybe doing something differently. Again, I'll follow up an insight with, now that I've recorded it, I'll go back and kind of highlight a few things that we've talked about. but if, please, next month we have another one, come with ideas. Maybe even if you tried something that we talked about, we'd love to hear about that. Because I know sometimes we're going to get similar questions, but it would be nice to know what has worked and what hasn't worked. And I think it was Teresa, make sure you share that document with me, your calendar of events. I think it'd be nice to see that subject matter and share that with other chapters. Even again, if it just sparks, oh, I never thought, we haven't had that subject before. So thank you for willing to share that with the group. But if that's it for this month, guys, thanks for coming. I hope you enjoyed it. And hopefully we'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Appreciate it. See ya.
Thank you.
Thanks.